Hello, friends. Welcome to Nirpa's talk show. Today, I have a special guest, Asish Datta. He is he holds almost 3 decades of industry experience working in different organizations. He started his careers in finance and then subsequently moved into operation and delivery. He completed a lot of leadership roles. Last engagement was CEO in Congruent Infotech, and then today he is serving as a CFO in the same organizations. Apart from his organization responsibility, he also actively associated with transforming the youth into a modern leader so that overall social impact can be achieved. I'm very glad that Ashish Datta has accepted my invitations and ready to share his thoughts in terms of the leadership initiatives that he has been engaged with. Welcome, Ashish.
Yeah, thank you, Nirpa. It's good to be back on your show again. A pleasure.
Thank you, Ashish. Uh, Basically, in order to win and succeed in life, responsibility is so important. And this is a part of being adult and learning to be responsible for everything that we do. Quoted by famous author, Mr. Tyler. However, having said that, responsibility and role and responsibility, which is always assigned to the organizations, and they are quite confusing sometimes. In today's uh, the digital world, there are a lot of fancy designations are given to each of the employee by different organizations. But while executing, we see there are a lot of overlap happens between the roles and responsibility, and which leads to a chaos and disorder in the organizations. So, Ashish, I want to hear your view how this overlapping of the roles can be avoided so that a employee can be more productive for himself and for the organizations.
Yeah, thank you, Nirpa. I think this is a very important subject and a complicated one.
Exactly.
First, let's be clear about this. Let's distinguish designation and roles and responsibilities.
Okay.
I have seen this all through my work corporate life. Designation is more your stature. It's more of you have a pay grade. It goes with that. And it is not necessarily the same as the role. It doesn't exactly reflect the role. For example, a designation can be a manager, it can be a senior manager, it can be a director. But does this designation say anything about the role? It doesn't.
No.
It's a kind of a stature. It goes with your experience, your pay grade. So this is primarily for the external work. If you go to the banks today, there are a lot of managing directors.
Exactly.
That's the designation, and it varies from company to company. And now in IT companies, it is also like you want to join a company, you want to be like you're a developer, somebody wants to designate like a senior developer or a technical architect. I think companies want to encourage talent, so they give the designation. So the designation is primarily your stature, goes with your grade. Role is very important. What's the role that you will play? The problem is that the roles are not properly clarified. One thing, and I think taking a step back, today companies want to hire. But why am I hiring? A lot of IT companies today hire saying that we need a bench strength, okay? Or I could be expecting more projects in the future. Or today, because of the pandemic, there's resource available, I want to pick them up. What you are doing in that case, you're planning for the future. And that's exactly where the problem comes. If you are planning for the future, the person, when they are joining, what is the role that you're going to assign them? You don't assign them proper roles because you're planning for the future, correct? And then when they join, you don't want to keep them idle, you put them into something. That's the real problem today. The problem is we are not planning properly, okay, which is what role and what we need.
Yeah.
Planning is missing. And there is a thing of picking up talent from the market without a very clear requirement. And when you don't have a clear requirement, naturally, what role will you assign? I think that's the problem today we are facing.
Yeah.
Maybe we are overstaffed. Maybe we are not. I'm not getting into that. The fact is, the planning is missing. I would say we need to plan better. What
Yeah.
exactly will be the role of that person? Why we are hiring that person? That why question is very important. And what contribution that person will make to the organization goals. I think if
Yeah.
that planning is clear, I think this overlap and this confusion don't happen. But we don't plan properly. We just hire because there's a talent or we need for the future. I think that's the real problem today
Yeah.
the industry is facing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the real issue why we see this problem of roles and responsibilities and that, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with your point. Because planning is very important. But at the same time, you see probably the service company in India or other part of the world, because it is primarily the roles or the hiring process is primarily driven by the need of the market, right? Even market is so volatile, the business is so complex, and every moment there is a interdependency of the roles and so on and so forth. Don't you agree that that is the primary driver where people are not getting the clear picture what that new person is going to perform?
Very true. Again, it all goes back to how you're defining your roles and how clarifying your roles. And how role one is dependent on the other. That
Exactly.
clarification and the problem is missing because we don't do it that well. And sometimes it is not also that possible to really do that kind of a role clarification. You have people, let's say, even in the shop floor, you have factory workers, you have a pre-assembly manager, you will have an assembly. So in the manufacturing sector, I think it is a little more structured.
Yeah.
Whereas in the where it's physical, you have a shop floor manager or you're building a product, it's more physical. But where it is goes into service, I think the problems are more over there in terms of really understanding what exactly is your role in that. Now the
Yeah.
question is, why is that? The point is, the whole point is about why is that? Because again, I go back to the basic. We are not well planned in terms of our hiring. If I know I have three positions, I am hiring for this particular position and role, then where is the problem? I think the problem again goes back to the root. We don't plan our recruitments properly, and we don't align all our recruitments properly. Today, in huge organizations, there will be a hiring team, I presume. There will be a who just hires, and then they give it to whoever they need, depending on the project or any other places, so that they don't know who is the real manager going to be or what is the role, because the hiring team is different. So the planning also should include a discussion with the technical team. Okay, where do you want to, why you need this person? What is the exact role? What difference that person make? I think if you do that pre-planning as a team together, you wouldn't have this problem. We just don't do that. We just go ahead and arbitrarily hire. That's the real problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this problem has created impact on both the employee, the resource, and the both organization. Even for employee perspective, right? If that roles and responsibility are not defined, he don't enjoy the work, and that means he's not able to deliver or and the expected outcomes, and therefore nobody gain the benefit. That is one thing. And second thing, I feel, sir, you kindly clarify. Uh, even for after the good amount of planning, probably employee also should come up with the flexibility mindset where probably 60% can be aligned what organization has given to him, and 30 to 40% he should be flexible to improve and adopt the changes responsibility that come as per the market demand or as per the industry demand. What do you think?
I strongly believe in one thing.
Yep.
If you are very good, you make yourself whatever to do to make yourself indispensable to the organization. If you do that, I think that's the key. Then you will get the kind of role that you require. But I think when you join an organization, your focus should be you will do your best for the organization in whichever way the organization requires. Now, if when you're joining, the employee also, the prospect or the candidate also has the responsibility of clarifying the roles and responsibilities. If you have not clarified the roles and responsibilities, and then you join and complain, like say I join, I'm talking about the software world because where I'm more used to, it's a senior software engineer, I joined. Now, what was your expectation of software engineer? What is that the company expected? You should have clarified that, right? You have not clarified that. And then you say there's a problem. It is not a senior software engineer. That I think the responsibility also lies with the candidate to clarify the role.
Exactly.
And another one that I do that, like in our company, even if you are say a technical manager, even you are a technical manager, we make it clear that we expect people also to be hands-on. We insist that everybody is hands-on. At the same time, you can manage a team. So there is a mix, technical and management, because to me, both goes together.
Yeah.
In our case, yeah, I may be a manager of the BI team, or I may be a manager of the Salesforce team. At the same time, also I'm hands-on. I can do consulting. We make that clear. Look, this role, you also have to be hands-on. You have to do this. So it is
Yeah.
up to the prospect to see whether they like. That's our company. That's what we prefer. That we can't afford to have somebody fully as a manager. We want somebody who's also technical, and that's been a philosophy of ours. And we make that clear to the candidate when they join. Look, I want to be a manager. Then I ask
Yeah.
the question actually, what do you mean by a manager?
Exactly.
What do you mean by a manager? A manager is somebody who shows the way to others. So you have to show by your own working, your own. So you have to be hands on. You have to do that to some extent to show people how you can do it. And that also contributes to the organization.
Yeah.
So everything starts at the fact of before you take up a role or a job, the candidate has to clarify the role clearly. The company has to sit, plan it properly, and also explain to the candidate what exactly is the role, what the company expects from that person, so that person can take a decision on this matter. This part is the issue. We just hire, and then we are at a loss what to do with this candidate. That's the
Exactly.
problem.
Yeah. Thank you. I think you have well clarified where basically it's a communication from both sides where employer should also clarify, and of course while hiring itself we have to done a lot of groundwork to understand exactly the
I also would
responsibility.
like to add something here. There is a problem also in mixing of the designation and role.
Yeah.
Some people want to join, you want to be a senior manager. I want to be a general manager, or I want to be a director because they like that. And many companies give that, okay, he is wanting that designation because it makes them feel good, this is designation. But then now you expect the role to be as per a designation. That never happens. Designation is always separate.
Thank
I
you.
can be a
Thank you
vice
for.
president. I can be a
Yeah.
CEO. I can be a CFO. I'm vice president. I can also be a director. So the designation part is to be totally left out of the whole thing. We should not mix designation and role. I think many companies try to do that because the candidate wants to be like that. And that is also a problem. We should be very clear that that's a very clear distinction. Designation is stature, grade, and those other aspects. It doesn't give anything about the role. Our mindset should be clear about that.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying this. I think this point is very uh, valuable where you says that designation is nothing to do with role and responsibility in organizations.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think let's move to the next question, probably, right? I mean, probably little granular details where most of the IT organizations where today we can see that basically uh, they give a designation of management, and then of course they want also the technical activities to be done, as you are rightly said in your organization also. But my point here is a good doctor cannot be a good engineer, right? But if you start expecting that board management role, where is primarily the strategy, where you want that culture to build, team building activities to happen, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, you expect him to do code. So if he wanted to become an individual contributor, how do you think he can justify as the overall supervision of the
You're very right in that. If I want to be an individual contributor,
team?
it's your choice. You can lead yourself, as I say, self-leadership and be an individual contributor. No problem with that. But then, if you say that I would like to lead teams, then definitely you have to have a managerial capability, whether you're a technical guy or not. Let's face that fact. There is no distinction between technical and managerial. If you are leading a team or you're responsible for a certain division, you have to have a management role because you have the responsibility of leading the team. But it is up to the individual. Even in our organization, there are senior people who want to be individual contributors. They're pretty clear about that. So there's no problem. But you want to be somebody, you want to have a team, you want to lead, but you say, no, I don't want to be only technical, I don't want to be managerial. I don't think that's a very practical and realistic expectation, because whenever you lead a team, you must have both.
No, my question was, you are giving a management role, or you are expecting some management role to be performed, which is more aligned or more responsibility of strategy, culture building, team building, and then overall roadmap and so on and so forth. But at the same time, that person you want to be do hands-on. So will he get enough time to do the both activities, or are doing that is practically possible? That is what I mean.
That is difficult to comment offhand. You have to go case by case in how you
Right.
do it. But to me, one, there are two, three parts to this question. The first is today, because you're 10 years in the company, you're given a management role. That should not be the case. Maybe you don't have the knack, you're not fit for that, you don't want to do it. So that's a gap. One, of course, it should be a person who is capable to perform that role. I agree with that point. To me, there is no technical and manager must go together. But in terms of the workload, how much it is, it depends on the situation. I can't comment in that way. Today, the technical part of it, yeah, should be, if it is I'm leading a big team, I may not have the time. But it doesn't mean that I'm always coding and doing hands-on work. I'm aware of what it is, so I can lead and guide my team. I think that should be the intent. The workload has to be assessed. If it's a large team, obviously you can't do it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm aware, but I wanted my audience to know basically how these things are practically
But then again,
can
like,
be
let's be very practical. Even in companies like us, we are always hand to mouth in terms of resources. We don't get always resources, or we try to get the best in terms of productivity. So sometimes we do overload people. It happens that you're also doing technical work, because in IT, you can't always project when which project will come. Suddenly you get a big project. You don't know where's the team, what you want to do with them. And in that case, you have to in that case, what will you do? You have to use whom we have. That is also a practical problem in our company also, that you can't always plan that way properly. So that's
yeah.
an issue. I agree with you. But by and large, we should be careful. We should take the workload into account to the best extent possible. And if somebody is not interested, don't give him the role. I had a
Exactly.
situation recently, not recently, a couple of months back. Somebody was offered and he said, no, I want to play an individual role. Fine, there's no problem with that
Yeah.
in that case.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if somebody takes that role, then I think it's a mesh of technical knowledge and managerial. But whether they'll be fully hands-on or not depends on the workload. I can't comment
Exactly.
often.
Yeah. I think what you essentially mean is probably the ownership of the work, right? The technical work. That is more important along with the managerial responsibility for the
Yeah.
management role. Right. He not necessarily have to do it, but he should able to get it done, and he should able to supervise up to the level where industry accept that solution, right?
And that's what I meant, that you should have proper technical knowledge. Today, I am a chartered accountant. I may not be doing accounting today, but if somebody comes to me, there's a debit problem or account, I can immediately guide and what to do. I am very clear. And if today I have to do bookkeeping myself, I can easily do it. I mean that. But I have to do
Exactly.
function consulting again, which I used to do before. I can easily do it. I don't have to, because I have the knowledge, I can guide people. That's what I'm saying. You cannot say I am a full manager, I don't know anything about technical. Then how do you expect to lead team.
Exactly.
That's the point I'm making. Now,
Yeah.
whether you will be hands-on or not depends on the situation and the need. I think that we can't make any general comment. But yes,
True.
yeah, my comment is, yeah, I want to be a manager. I don't want to be technical. Not possible, because you must have technical knowledge to lead a team. If I am a chartered accountant, I'm leading accounts team, but I don't know anything about accounts. Can I lead that team? I think
Yeah.
that's the point I'm making. The knowledge and the control and ability to guide people and a thorough understanding of the working of that subject.
Yeah. Yeah. I got it. So what essentially we can conclude is the core responsibilities will always remain same, right? As a technical activity that he had been doing, but
Yeah.
there is an additional responsibility to coach the team members, to mentor the team members, and also to align and work together for better delivery. That is
I
what they
don't
expected.
prescribe to the fact that it's an additional responsibility. It's a
Okay.
responsibility, it's an important responsibility, and it is as important as technical work. The point is, if you're not willing to do it, fine. If you're taking the responsibility, then it is for you to sit with your boss and the management and work it out. Then it becomes your responsibility. You have accepted to
Yeah.
do both hands on, it is your job. You can't blame anybody. That's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I agree. I withdraw that part. Yeah, it is not the additional responsibility. It is the core responsibility that he has to do, along with technically plus
Right.
managing the project. Okay, let's move to the next question now, Mr. Ashish. So, primarily, again, I would love to hear from you, right? Because the role and responsibility is very crucial from the mindset perspective, because that is the base. Once that is clear, probably he or she will able to deliver the things more better way and more efficient. So I would love to hear your advice. What a person or employee or individual need to do in order to clarify the role and responsibility in his current organization or future organization, so that delivery can be done at the best level.
I think the one and important thing that everybody has to do is they must have their key performance area sheet agreed at the beginning of the year. What are my key areas in which I'll be assessed, and what am I expected to contribute? That will give you full clarity. Today, we don't do that. We don't do that. That's the problem. Key performance areas. Okay, these are the main areas that you will be assessed. This is what the contribution you have to make. And this is the yardstick how you will be measured. I think that what I call KPA, key performance area, if that is clear, everything is clear. If that is not there, there's a huge problem.
Yeah, I think I got it. I think many organizations have that KPI based performance evaluations,
So the problem
but
with the
then we
KPI is that every KPI has two, three parts. One is you are assessed at the division level, company level, then your self level. So
Sure.
that is all fine if you're going to have a variable pay and all. But I'm not getting into that. That responsibility of the self, what is that you have to contribute to the organization? I think that KPI is very important. And another important aspect is the individual as well as the companies to see that if you're giving, say Ashish has been given this KPIs, it should be within my control.
Yeah.
If you say in an IT company again, you out of the 12 months, 10 months, you should be in billable projects. Let's say that's a KPI. Do you think that's a KPI for the person?
No, no,
Cannot be. Whether
exactly.
you get a project or not is dependent on that person.
True.
If you can get your KPIs clarified, okay, this is what I'm expected to contribute and this is how I'll measure, I think that will solve the problem. Everybody must insist, where is my KPI? In fact, when I do the orientation of new hires, I make them. If you're not getting your KPIs, you come to me. Why? That will give you very high level of clarity.
Yeah. Thank you for this clarity. I think every employee should first ask for the KPI,
Yeah.
and then definitely measure his performance based on those KPI. That should be the way forward as far as role and
Very
responsibility.
specific, you have to go about a smart goals. Now we have smart goals and specific and what is in your control. Go back to the smart goals, specific, measurable, time bound. No? Our
Exactly.
traditional, that is how the KPI should be done. Then I think there will be no problem.
True. I think, yeah, very clarified, well clarified. Let's move to the next question, and then probably we'll wrap up our discussion today. So, in spite of the fact that there are role and responsibility defined in the organizations, and people are performing each of their roles and responsibility. But we usually came across certain disorder, because there are some ambitious people who wanted to cross that boundary of their responsibility, who want to contribute. But you being a leader, you cannot undermine his ambition at the same time, and then it becoming a mess for entire team sometimes, because he's like creating a confusion and disorder within the team. So what do you think, how this kind of problems can be achieved? First of all, do you agree this kind of problem exists?
Yeah, it exists. Definitely it
Yeah,
exists. But again, it exists. There are two ways to look at it. What is your purpose? You want to do more, you want to learn more, you want to contribute where the company needs something. Let's say there's a role. I had a situation, when was that? 3, 4 months back, where we had certain things to do where we needed help. So I sent out a mail to everybody. It's like a clarion call, like if you're willing to come in. So then people went out of their role to help, and we appreciated it. That's one way of looking, which is absolutely fine. And people should do it. When there is a company need, I will do it, or give you a suggestion. This is what I see a gap, you can do it. This is perfectly fine. But if you are doing to outsmart others, you want to get into other roles. Let's say you're working in a team. Each one has a role to play, correct? You try to get into somebody's role. You try to prove yourself to the client that I am the only person working. That is a problem. And those people should definitely be dealt with a very strong hand.
yeah. Thank you for this clarification.
Yeah.
So basically, it is all objective and the situation driven way of handling this kind of
If somebody
situation.
is really willing to do something new, most welcome, very much appreciated. Talk to your boss, talk to the management, talk to HR and say, okay, this is the idea I feel I can contribute. If they say, yeah, that's very good, you should contribute, or the company needs somewhere. But don't step into somebody else and take I don't know, I will do this work, or try to tell the client that you have done it, or you try to show off and say, okay, everything is because of me. That cannot be tolerated and must be cut in the nip of the bud.
Thank you for clarifying. But during this conversation, what comes to my mind, basically your self introspection point. So what I can conclude here is basically the taking responsibility for own thoughts, own actions and beliefs, and probably choices is the key need for to sort out this kind of overlapping of role and responsibility, because most of the problem we are the main root cause. And if we properly analyze the situation and we take the responsibility of each of our action and thoughts, I think most of the problem can be solved. And with this note, I would love to thank you, Ashish, for your valuable time and insight. Especially the role and responsibility is always confusing for each of the employee like us. I hope this discussion will definitely throw a light to clarify these responsibilities areas.
Thank you, Nirpa. My pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.